Shalom, praises to Yahweh, or Hashem Yahushai, or Hashem Harakah Kadash. God wanted to the apostles and the elders, great most honorable world, and Shalom to the brothers doing the work to Syrian truth. Just wanted to go into essentially, this situation, this conflict in and around Russia and Ukraine, which, as time goes on, is becoming more and more of a global conflict. It's been from the jump. It's really been looked at like, this is essentially the jumping off point for World War III, and we've just seen that expand more and more. You've had Ukraine essentially get fast pass through Ukraine essentially get fast pass into NATO. You've had the BRICS. Essentially what they're building over time. Well, they've been having a little meeting and they accepted more members into the group, essentially where they're going to join by the start of next year. And that's, a lot of them are what? Like Iran, Saudi Arabia, countries that have a bone, they're essentially trying to be against the Western sphere of influence. So we have this same thing, the lead up to previous world wars. World War I, World War II, you had groups of allies basically make a pact to where it's like, one goes to war, they all go to war. Then a skirmish starts, a conflict kicks off, and then that essentially boils up to everyone getting involved. So we're seeing that with Ukraine, just from the beginning, what Ukraine's been getting mass support from NATO, from the EU, from the US, all these countries giving billions upon billions in equipment and money, funding. So I read this, it's on the Sun. It says what? Nuke alert. That's on, it's on the Sun. It says, nuke alert. Putin puts 16,000 mile per hour doomsday nuke dubbed Satan II that can sink UK in one strike on combat duty for the first time. And yeah, they were talking about before, about how London is in the strike range and their means to take out the UK. The reason these things are being spoken about is why? Is because this is all the build-up to the conflict. And that's the thing, this gets other nations' involvement, because the UK, the US, these countries, they've been essentially keeping Ukraine in the game. So that says what? Vladimir Putin has placed the world's most powerful Armageddon nuclear rocket, dubbed Satan II, on combat duty and haunted new threat to the West. The unstoppable intercontinental missile system can sink the UK, and it's the size of a 14-story tower block. So that's just wild to think about. That's like Grenfell Tower or something, but it's just a fucking missile. It's just a nuclear warhead. It's got the stats. Well, yes, it's got 11,000 mile range. So what does it say? So Yuri Borisov, head of the Russian Space Agency, issued the chilling announcement earlier today. He told a crowd of students at an event, the Sarmat, and also, it's called the Satan II. So, who is it linked to? And when it's called the Satan II, you already know what it is, man. That's Esau completely in his element. And that's what they did today. So they said the Sarmat strategy complex has been put on combat duty. Borisov also said today that Russia will most likely undock the Russian module from the International Space Station after 2030. The Armageddon weapon is 116 feet in length and can be loaded with 15 flight nuclear warheads at once. The weapon was designed to carry out nuclear strikes in countries thousands of miles away in the US and Europe. So essentially it's a weapon that's been built purely for the conflict we're seeing built, World War III. that mass conflict where you're gonna have Russia and their allies come against the US, NATO, EU, and their allies. Because that's essentially all we're seeing cook up. He says what? It has the potential to obliterate the United Kingdom some 1,600 miles away in just 6 minutes. And that's the thing, is these level of threats is what was going on during the Cold War. And that's where it kept escalating as far as like the missile stockpiles and the missile capabilities. One of the other key things is what is the Russia's already got their hypersonic missiles online. That's something that other nations are catching up on. So they're at a disadvantage when it comes to what the nuclear capabilities. So it's you know, they're more likely to take some form of action, you know, against that. But we'll see, you know. Says, and with an operational range of up to 11,180 miles, the deadly missile is reported to have no equivalent in the West in terms of terror it can unleash. The 208-ton missile was meant to go on duty in late 2022, but was mysteriously delayed. Russian propagandists have boasted one strike could sink Britain under the sea, but it's only passed one test launch. 9 months ago, Putin threatened in the near future Sama ICBMs will be on combat duty for the first time. We know there will be a certain delay in time, but this does not change our plans. Everything will be done. So that's essentially preparing the dinner table, preparing what? For a weapon that's purely meant for conflict against the West. And hey, through this, it's essentially the relations between Russia and the Western world at all-time low. So we're seeing, hey, you know, these missiles, the reason they've been crafted, you know, they've been put into service, is because they're going to be used. We're in the time now where it's basically at the door. You had like the Cuban Missile Crisis, you had mutually assured destruction knocking about during the Cold War. But now we're in a time where these things are getting ready to be fulfilled. We have the other prophecies as well at hand. So I let you know, this, hey, there's something that's coming real soon. I'll start on this. Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. And yeah, proclaim among the Gentiles, prepare war. All the different heathen nations are preparing for war. It's funny because in the BRICS you have like India and China working together, but those guys have been at odds for the longest as well. There's various levels of different skirmishes happening to where with these it's the same as World War I, World War II, where you have these little groups of allies. Once you know it kicks off, then it's very easy for it to escalate further. Or you had what was it doing missile tests for North Korea. North Korea did a missile test this morning where I think they shot a missile into the South China Sea again. So there was one of the missiles they shot before where it went towards Japan. Then hey, it was everyone's getting antsy. I think as well, Japan just released what was it called? The radioactive water from the thingy, man, the nuclear reactor from 2011. They finally released the radioactive water into the sea, and then South Korea is looking at that sideways, saying, "Yo, this could be seen as an act of war." But that's essentially the climate we're in, where now all these guys that seem to have been allies, that whole pretense is really going in the bin. So let's say, verse 10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I am strong. It's funny because even with Japan, they previously had, after World War II, they didn't have an army that could basically do it, do any external actions. They only had an army for a self-defense force for internal conflicts, essentially. But since I think a few years back, maybe like 3 years back, that's when they once again said they're going to have an external army. So then that shows that shift coming. And again, like really, it's been sped up from when the Russian-Ukraine conflict happened. That's been the main thing that's dropped, that's made everyone shift. The whole spirit shifted, man. To where now warfare isn't, those times we talk about World War III and people be like, nah. But now it's people are ready to believe it. Because why? They can very easily see how the Ukraine conflict can expand. So it says, verse 11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Most High. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, or the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit and judge all the heathen round about. So this is a conflict where what? All the heathen are going to be drawn in. It's going to be on a mass scale. Just as you had with World War I, World War II, those great woes, this is that third woe coming. It says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. And that's what we're in the midst of. We can see that the day of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is coming swiftly. And a big part of that is what? That Third World War. So I read this, Isaiah 9 and 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. Yeah, we're bringing a different form of weaponry in to this conflict. That's another part of the significance. You've had prior wars, even World War I was, because of the lack of medical technology and how weaponry developed, you had a humongous amount of people that were decimated afterwards, man. You had some legendary new forms of destroyed mental health, man, that came after that. World War II as well. You had developed technologies where it ended with what? The atomic bomb being dropped. You had Oppenheimer come out, basically go into the whole process of how that weapon came together. And that was something that was on a whole new scale when it came to pass. And now we have the final development, the end of that road, where it's nuclear warheads, nuclear weapons. And that's something that hasn't been used in a conflict. So when it happens, it's going to be on a legendary scale. That's what people live in terror of. That's why a lot of people are trying to basically have the Ukraine conflict end in as in calmest manner possible, because they know if it goes nuclear, then it's a wrap. They're thinking it's a wrap for the planet, but really it's according to prophecy, the planet ain't going nowhere. It's going to be a wrap for America. It says, but this shall be burning and fuel of fire. So yeah, 1 Thessalonians 5:1 says, but of the times and seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them. And that's something, again, that people are trying to say, peace and safety. That's something people are trying to cling to, especially with the Western world. They're disconnected from the state of basically perpetual war that's been about on various other corners of the planet Earth. When you go to the Middle East, there's various countries, even Eastern Europe as well. Eastern Europe especially, for the longest time, has had various different forms of conflicts happening continuously. You've had countries, come into existence and then cease to be. So this is it's really something where that virgin door, like America, that virgin door, it's been untouched. That's the reason why they're so disconnected. But for other people, they can see this is something that can very easily go down. You had even with what's it called, like Syria and Turkey, those two were skirmishing for the longest before the earthquake came down. Syria's a spot. Iran and the state of Israel, they've been up in Syria, conflicts against each other for the longest. Yemen as well. Saudi Arabia's been doing a number on Yemen. There's all these different conflicts that have been going down, but people haven't been aware. Now it's going to be what? It's one that touches the Western world, and it's going to be in a different form of scale. That piece is it's not been here really, but the illusion of it is going to be gone as well. It says what? For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye brethren are not in darkness, that they should overtake you as a thief. Yeah. Essentially for us, we're clued in. We've been looking into these things. The development of these skirmishes, funny because it was what, 2014 when you had Crimea get nabbed by Russia. So really it's been a perpetual conflict from them, but now it just let up again. But it says, but ye brethren are not in darkness, that they should overtake you as a thief. Ye are the children of the day, ye are all the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. And yeah, that's something that in this current day and age, people are doing less and less. There was a period of time when people would stay clued into the news, but news fatigue is taken over. People don't want to check things out. It's nothing but bad news. So even more, things are going to come as a shock and a surprise when they really shouldn't. So I read this, Isaiah 66:15. For behold, the Lord Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord Yahweh shall be many. So we're keeping in mind that the scale of this destruction is going to be legendary, man. Even when you see footage of what goes down in Ukraine, it's wild. Especially it's like if you've got no experience with how grisly it can get in a conflict, you'll be like, damn, this is fucked up. But that's the thing is worse things are yet to come. The Lord's basically opening up and getting ready to bring mass destruction upon this place. That's why it's like the fire, the tool that's going to be used is on a whole new scale. Where it says what? And the slaying of the Lord Yahweh shall be many. There's going to be a mass amount of death and destruction. So I read this, Proverbs 16:4. The Lord Yahweh hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. That's the key thing. The reason these technologies have been developed, the reason Esau's in power, hey, the reason we're seeing these skirmish, guess what? It's all for the day of evil, man. Esau's been brought up for that express purpose. And now it's about what? Fulfilling prophecy. Seeing that manifest. So I'll finish on this. Matthew 12:25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself, how shall then his kingdom stand? And yes, Satan's divided against Satan, how can his kingdom stand? And it's not ironic that the missile's called the Satan as well. This guy's bringing in a legendary weapon that's meant to be used against, the other establishment of Satan. It's, Satan's divided against himself. And that's been Esau's MO for the longest. You go to, the statue, Daniel 2, with the toes. I might just get that after. The iron and miry clay, man, they didn't mix together. How then shall his kingdom stand? And if Beelzebub casts out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of the Most High, then the kingdom of the Most High is come unto you. Yeah, that's essentially, you're Satan ain't going to be casting out demons, man. It's good. Yahushua is going to come and get the victory in the end. I'll get the... So, Daniel 2 and 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potters clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, and there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for so much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes and the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Yeah, that's the thing with Esau. He's basically not cleaved together. You've had various different countries build up and come to prominence at different times. You had the British Empire, now Britain's in decline. And then you've had America raise up, you had the Belgium, Portugal, Spain, these various different aspects of Esau's power raise up. But they won't cleave together. But now it's what? That's essentially hitting fever pitch, where it's going to be all out conflict. So yeah.
Revelation 17 and 16.
Oh, what? You want to?
No, you gotta read it. Because the topic you're reading, you gotta read that. 16 and 17.
Hate the horn burning with fire. Revelation 17 and 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For the Most High hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, unto the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. Yeah, essentially, the what's it called? These different unions, NATO, the EU, them working together. And really it's after World War II when this came about. Because prior to that, essentially Europe was in non-stop conflict. So they all came together. But that's basically going to be put to an end. It's going to go back into that state of conflict.
Nah,
and
I know what you're saying, but it's just essentially you read about Russia destroying England. England's going to join with Russia to destroy America. Simple as that.
I was about to go.
Yeah.
If I'm going to read it, it's like
go on.
That's
Yeah.
It's essentially they're in allyship with it.
Yeah.
Because as it is, that's what it's all going to flip. Like the brother said, it was originally about going into Russia, but then what? Russia's going to be mainly used against what? America, and then all these countries.
Mentioning because you read the article and it set out like Russia is threatening England, but we know that don't mean nothing because they're going to join together in the end to destroy America. That's the only So the European nations are all going to come, if anything, Esau's against Esau, but they're so against America, they're going to join together to fight against America. I mean, you can show video.
You said it, man. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Say, Shalom. Yahweh Shem Yahshua.